Welcome to the Week in Review. We are now at the 100-day mark for Joe Biden in office, and I want to share with you on a theme why I do not respect Joe Biden. I want to share this in a very responsible way, and I trust you'll hear my heart. I'm not saying that we don't pray for our president, and I'm not saying that somehow we're supposed to be antagonistic or have a hateful attitude. But you know, Jesus told us in the Sermon on the Mount that we're to examine fruit. And when Joe Biden was a senator for decades, he was a moderate, he was pro-life as a Catholic, he was a law and order advocate, and he was respected in that way. But something has happened to him. You know, when I first came into ministry about 50 years ago, I was in an office of a pastor in the state of Washington. And I remember this man had a plaque on his wall. And I still remember it decades later. And it said this. It said, "What men build with their gifting, they destroy with their character." And I look at Joe Biden and I say, something's off. And something has happened, really, when you think about it. Now, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, a good tree will bear good fruit, and a corrupt tree will bear evil fruit. A good tree cannot bear evil fruit, and a corrupt tree cannot bear good fruit. And then he said, you will know them by their fruits. Now, you know, when I drive down the street, there's times where there's a sinkhole or they're doing some major construction work, and somebody will be there. You know what it's like. They tell you slow down. They'll have their flagpole like this, and it's like slow down, slow down. And I'm saying we as Americans today, we need to have what's sometimes called a woke moment and slow down and recognize what's happening. I'm going to put on the screen some of the aspects of this first 100 days to help you realize what's going on, or what you might say is what's going down. Look at this. Joe Biden has sent gas prices skyrocketing, grocery prices will soon follow, and he's aggressively pushed abortion, LGBTQ activism, illegal immigration, although he's concealed and he has, yes, lied about the crisis. He has pushed voting liberalization, massive taxation, spending chicanery, ending successful economic policies, bowing to Iran, $90 trillion Green New Deal, and misled the nation on Georgia's voter integrity initiatives, as he called it, Jim Crow 2. This is serious stuff, but I would say to you today, something has happened recently that is even more serious. And I'm going to start by saying this, that we are sometimes told by people, trust me. You got to respect me. You got to trust me. Well, I believe we do respect the office of a man that's in the presidency, but we don't necessarily respect the person if they're going off. And Joe Biden has been going off. From a biblical agenda, he's gone into a secular socialist agenda. And as the Democrat Party has become radicalized, so has Joe Biden. And I tell you, we've got to say something about this, because he is right now, and this is fact, the most radical liberal president in United States history. And recently, Joe Biden, after the Minneapolis verdict came in, and it was a very tragic event, watched for a year, but Joe Biden had an opportunity afterwards to address from the White House America and America's criminal justice system. He had a beautiful opportunity to seize the opportunity and commend the judge and the jurors and be able to pay tribute to our American system of justice, due process, meticulous investigation. And the eyes of the world were watching. But instead, what did he do? He seized the opportunity to do something that no sitting president has ever done in American history. And that was to lambast and trash America before the whole global community. You say, well, I didn't know about it. Well, you may have missed it, but I'm going to put on the screen the exact words that he said after Kamala Harris made her statement. Here's what he said. He said this: "It was murder in the full light of day, and it ripped the blinders off for the whole world to see the systemic racism the vice president just referred to. the systemic racism that is a stain on our nation's soul, the knee on the neck of justice for Black Americans, the profound fear and trauma, the pain, the exhaustion that Black and brown Americans experience every single day. You heard the Vice President speak of the legislation she helped write to tackle systemic misconduct in police. Oh my, police departments, and to restore trust between law enforcement and the people that they're supposed to serve and protect. What he did was trash America to the whole world. You say, I didn't know he said that. Well, it's a very serious, whether it's a misstatement, a miscalculation, but he's communicating a narrative that is completely false, and it is battering down American people, and that statement had terrible repercussions. Newt Gingrich, the respected former Speaker of the House, he said he was stunned by this reckless rhetoric. And Ben Carson, who is a Christian and was in the former administration, he pled with the president and his colleagues to stop driving a stake into this nation. We're polarizing people. You say, well, Larry, who was harmed by that kind of a reckless statement? Well, first of all, the entire reputation of the United States of America was really disparaged in the eyes of the entire world. Also, who else? Well, think about this. Our enemies, yes, China, Russia, Iran, they now have fodder from his statement that they can use to propagandize before other nations of the world. That statement also cast aspersions on the police. We have 80,000 law enforcement police officers in the United States right now. We have about 340 million people. But Mr. Biden is really trashing America, and he's promoting a narrative that somehow Black Americans are being shot and killed wantonly. It's an epidemic. This is a racist system, and it's got to be brought down. And that's what the anti-America movement is trying to promote. But this is false. It's a false narrative. It is not correct. Black Americans are not being hunted down on the streets. See, that kind of a statement is having an impact on what? Children and youth when a president makes that kind of a statement. And also, think about this. It casts aspersion on all the other Congress people. It makes it sound like they're ignoring the problem. They haven't really done anything. That's not accurate. And it casts aspersions especially on law enforcement. Now, what are the facts? Now, I lived in D.C. for 24 years. And I would read the Washington Post, which is a leftist, liberal publication. I would often say, I read it so I know what the enemy's saying. But their database tells the facts. There is not some wanton hunting down of blacks in the streets in some callous way because of our systemic racism and racist police. Do you know, if you back up to 2019, what are the facts? Now, Vic, please understand, these are the facts. There were 26 white Americans that were shot by police, unarmed, and there were, 12 Black Americans. And in this past year, there were 24 white Americans that were unarmed and shot by police, and there were 18 unarmed blacks. Now, when I say unarmed, I'm not saying they didn't have knives. I'm not saying they didn't resist arrest. I'm not saying that they didn't use their vehicle to try and run down a policeman. And oftentimes the media presents it, they'll say children are being taken out and gunned down. Well, we've got to be careful when we're saying children. We're also dealing with people that had knives, that are criminals. They're not children. I'm not casting aspersions on everybody. But also, this is not commonplace. This is not taking place all over America and all over this nation right now because we have racist police. Now, I, as an individual, and I hope you identify, I do not in any way endorse, celebrate, or in any way participate in anything racist. I've lived in 10 different localities. I've traveled all over the United States, and in 50 years, I've traveled all over. And you know what I find? I find the absolute overwhelming majority of Americans are respectful of the police and their fellow man. We know that we're all created in the image of God. And I personally resent it when somebody lectures me and tries to lump me in with the small minority of people that have racist attitudes. I don't have a racist attitude, and I bet you don't either. And I look out for my fellow man. And I'm going to say this, that when a man like Joe Biden makes that kind of a statement, it puts a blanket over all of us and makes us all feel that we're guilty. And you know, many times what's happening when we have these rare shootings, it's magnified. We make martyrs of a person that is shot. We don't tell the whole story, how they were on drugs, methamphetamine, and maybe threatening the police. And see, we've got to be discerning, and we've got to know what's going on. Now, let me tell you this. When Joe Biden makes that kind of a statement, and I look at the fruit of his first 100 years, I realize, I say this, I don't respect him as a person for what he's doing and what he represents. I will pray for him every day. I did with Barack Obama. But no sitting president ever did what he did in trashing America to the whole world. Even Barack Obama. Now, he was measured, and he made some nuanced and, dubious statements when he was president. And since he's come out of office, yes, he's engaged with Mr. Trump in ways that have been combative. But what Mr. Biden did was unprecedented, and it was an insult to people all over this nation, not just the law enforcement, but patriotic Americans who care and love this country. And we've got to be careful when celebrities and Hollywood and people, Cortez, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is celebrating these first 100 days by saying, Joe Biden has exceeded expectations for us progressives. She's excited about what's going on. I'm not what I see being pushed in this time. And so Proverbs 26:1 says, we don't give honor to somebody that's acting foolishly or in evil ways. We don't. Now, we respect the office, but we don't necessarily respect the person. When people say to me, Larry, just trust me, I say, hey, trust, I want to. Trust is earned. It's not just given. And the same thing with honor and respect. So I'm calling on you to be alert in this hour to what's going on and reject this narrative that is wicked and it's dividing us. When Mr. Biden came into office, you may recall, he said he was going to bring about unity. He wanted to bring us together. These kind of statements that are insults, derogatory towards us as America and Americans, are tearing us apart. What does the Bible tell us? Well, I say this as we look into our future. We've got a lot of praying to do, but we've got to be informed and educate people, our children, and those that we can, to know the truth. I'm going to put on the screen a verse from Psalm, and I think it's very apropos as we close. It says in Psalm 26, 4 and 5, I do not sit with the deceitful, nor do I assemble with hypocrites. I abhor the assembly of evildoers, and I refuse to sit with the wicked.